Camping Scout. Got your information for Back 4 Blood here. Now, I wanted to go over the updated cards, at least going over the copper version of them, or copper income. So I'm going to scroll all the way here to the end, and I'm going to go over each individual card and their utility and best way to use them. So we'll start with the baseline Copper Scavenger. I would always recommend this if you're finding you need to get copper throughout your games, because the fact you can see it through walls, if you're the type of player to literally memorize every single location, then by all means forego this. This only adds 2 piles of copper for what I can remember, which doesn't add up to all that much. But for the casual person, this will be great. It allows you to see it through walls. You'll know, okay, go into this other room here. But that being said, with it only being 2 extra, that's anywhere between 50 copper to 200, and you're not likely to get 2 100 piles of copper extra spawned from this. And we'll just keep going from here. So now we've got Share the Wealth. Share the Wealth is very basic. Each teammate gets 100 bonus copper at the start of each level. It's diminishing returns the less people you have. If it's just you, this card is worth 100 copper. So 2 people, 200, 3, 300, 4, 400. So, I mean, it's basic, says exactly what it is. Same as the next one we're going over, which is Hazard Pay. This one is pretty decent if you're by yourself, because you're getting that 250 copper at the start of every level instead of just 100, so it'd be 2.5 times more. Now we go to page 15 here, and you'll see we'll get to Money Grubbers last. We'll start next with Bounty Hunter, which is up here. So with Bounty Hunter, you get 10 copper per mutation kill, up to 300. So this card is technically worth 300 if you're spending the time to kill 30 mutations. If you're doing speed runs, this card is only worth as many as you kill. I've done some runs, even on a Nightmare run, I ended up only killing about 9 mutations because it was sprint for the exit. So, I mean, that's maximum 300, minimum 0. Next, you're going to have Compound Interest, which Compound Interest has this very unique ability to just steamroll your copper in the game. If you have a 4-man team and you all go into the safe room before you shut the door, everyone but whoever has this drops all copper they have, and that one person picks it up. You will easily get enough to buy every single one of the extra utilities and buy anything from the store you want, because that's just an extra 10% on top. And whenever you combined everybody together, if you're maximizing money, it's insanely high. That has an infinite potential. Now next we'll go to Lucky Pennies. Lucky Pennies, in my opinion, is the worst possible one, because it is a chance to get it. You're looking at, if you never proc that 35%, this card is giving you 0. And it's not like the medicine one where you can get double the effect. This is a 35% chance to get 35 additional. So let's just use on the most common pile you find, which is 25. You're looking at 1/3 of 25 is about 8. So 8 additional gold. You get a 50 and you're looking at about 16, 132. So finding those piles, this card, even if you procced it on every single one, a basic area has about 18 piles. If I do some quick math here, so let's just say we did 18, we'll do it times the 8. So that card is worth 144 if you proc it on all 18 piles and their 25s. So that's counting on maximum luck with that. You're still better off taking Share the Wealth, because Lucky Pennies doesn't blend with the next one. And the final money card I'm going to go over is actually Money Grubbers. Money Grubbers is a phenomenal card. They actually nerfed it a bit. It used to be a lot stronger. You used to get so much more with it, but they scaled it back a bit. It's still a great card. I mean, your potential is still, I think, whenever I did the math, it was about 680. See if I can find my notes here. Okay, no, I threw my notes away from before. But so if you look at it, each time anybody picks up a pile of copper, you get 3 additional copper. And it's a stacking effect. So the first pile, you get 3 additional. The second, you get 6, and then 9, then 12. Now, in order to maximize this one, you have to have 25 piles. And that's the way it got nerfed, because it used to be 5 to 100. But now, since they've nerfed it a bit, it's 3 up to 75. The only way you're going to max out your pile is by having somebody bringing two people bring Copper Scavenger and open the Prepper Pantry. But it's still worth it. The bonus you get from that far exceeds any other card. Because you want to start going over values of cards. You've got Scavenger. That has a value of 50 to 200, because it brings in two piles. I wish they would tell you that. Like, I had to do 10 runs on the first level without it, making sure I scoured every single location, and I got a static 18 piles. I put this on. 10 runs later, it was a static 20. So with Copper Scavenger, you get 2 extra piles. That's a value of 50 to 200. That does vary based on what piles you get, and you'll never know which ones you got from it, because there's 18 other piles. You got Share the Wealth. That's 100 per player, and I don't count it with randoms. I count that with people you're on comms with, because you're with 2 randoms. Don't count the 200 you got from them. They might not help you. That copper may not go to you at all. So 100 per player that you're with. So between 100 to 400. You got Hazard Pay. It's a flat 200. Nothing special about that. You've got Bounty Hunter. Minimum 0, maximum 300. I would still say Bounty Hunter is better than Hazard Pay, because you can still get that 300. Compound Interest. This card I recommend with a team, not by yourself. Because if you're by yourself, you notice your team isn't buying those upgrades and you want them, you'll have to drop your copper to do it. I mean, you average about, I want to say it's 1,600 at the end of a level, so that would be 160 copper, roughly. I mean, that has potential to be super high, but also super low, and you're talking about taking up one of your precious card slots. Lucky Pennies, I consider it useless. You're talking about a 1 in 3 chance to get an additional 1/3 copper. Money Grubbers is a phenomenal one, because you're talking about, at minimum, it is 0 if you collect no copper. But every piece of copper you get, this card increases in value. So the first pile you get, okay, the card is only worth 3, but the second, all of a sudden, it's worth 9. And then the one after that, you're talking about it's worth 18. This card ends up being valued over 500. And if you stack it with Copper Scavenger, grab a toolkit, this card almost pays for the Prepper Pantry toolkit. Just a basic one for 350 round 1. That card alone will pay most of it, just for grabbing the 3 piles out of it. Some bonuses we're going to go over, because they did change it from when the game released, is Highwayman. Whenever you use a secondary gun, there's a 3% chance to get ammo, or a Molotov. That little extra Molotov, like ammo production is always great, but that extra chance at an offensive item is phenomenal. I wouldn't look down on that. And the other one is Mugger. This is the melee one. Melee kills with melee have a chance to spawn ammo or razor wire. This is a card that is, I think, is a very niche predicament because you need a defensive moment, which there are plenty in the game, but you're talking about having a walking razor wire spawn. So you get to those moments where it's you got defenses coming out the walls. You're like, okay, we got to start this horde. A good example is level 3, the 3rd level in of Act 1, whenever you've got to drop the gravel. Sometimes you get lucky with the prepper pantry right next to it, so you can open the door, and you can pretty much you have a one doorway home to defend. If you're having razor wire drop before that, you can place all the razor wire you want in there. In fact, Barroom Blitz and the Diner Holdout, me and my buddy, by the time we get there, we'll typically have razor wire out the wazoo, and it's just a minefield of razor wire. It's hilarious to watch. Like, I've literally seen enough razor wire to see the Zeds die walking through it. Now, I hope that was informative. I hope everybody enjoys this content. I know there's not a lot of people putting stuff out for this game anymore. It seems to have died off rather quickly. I want to apologize for the long delay. Just in the middle of selling my house, buying a new house. So I will have another big break coming up while I try to get set up in the new place. But if there's any specific content that you would like to see, please let me know in the comments. I will be more than happy to cover it. And I hope you all have a good one. See you in the next one.